Hello everybody, Reggie Time here. I don't even know if it's going on YouTube or not yet, but I'm doing the intro just in case it does. I'm mostly just recording myself playing a two-table session of 25 six-card PLO on PokerStars, so I can watch it back and double-check my thought processes in the moment. If it's an entertaining video in terms of there's plenty of action, it'll go on YouTube. If there isn't, then it won't. But if you are a six-card PLO fan and this does make it to YouTube and you want to play in some incredibly soft six-card PLO games ranging from 20 pence big blind all the way up to £6 big blind, then do hit me up. Message beneath the video, email me at the link beneath the video, contact the Telegram address in the right beneath the video, and I promise you I can get you in games that are better than the ones you're about to see. But as this might not make YouTube, I might never ever I might just have wasted my time completely with that opening intro, because it's not my intention to share it. We're using Drive HUD 2, which allows you to have a HUD on PokerStars. I've got more hands on these players than it says here. I know more about them. I've created several new databases over the last week or so, because every day or every few days I think I've learned something new and I have new thoughts. So I create a new database and then see how that's gone. Typically, so far, I am not proving myself to be a winning player on PokerStars. I think plenty of that is to do with stack depth. I think this is a game which plays much better like 200 plus big blinds deep than it does 100 big blinds deep. I think there's more, for want of a better way of putting it, poker to be played at deep stacks than there is where, once there's a 3-bet pre-flop, the SPR is usually down to like 3 or so, and then it's kind of just, did the dealer pick me or not? It's a sort of game where, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, sort of game where you want to try and keep SPRs as high as possible. So then post flop, if you do have any skill advantage, you can maximize that. That's my general overall philosophy. I don't play a particularly heavy 3-bet strategy, and in club games that works really well. It hasn't worked too well as yet on PokerStars, but my sample is very small. And as I said, I'm constantly fiddling with my game as I try and settle on some beliefs about how to approach the game. So from this point on in the video, assuming it makes YouTube, all I'm going to do is talk out loud about what I think about my hand and what I think it wants to do. So here we have, versus a short stack, we have kings, and then we have a suited ace. Versus the short stack here, we just want to 3-bet this, try and knock this Marv out of the pot. The fact we've got like an ace with our kings just reduce the chances of either player having aces. Obviously going to be a disaster if he goes all in. Now we just run it against this short stack. And even though we blocked aces, we still ran into them. And now we are pretty much dead. But I'm completely fine with that play there. And that's very standard for 30 big blinds. Deeper stack there. I think I probably wouldn't have been in a huge rush to get kings in pre, even with the ace blocker. The more I play 6-card PLO, the more I'm inclined to believe that although blockers probably are important, I think they're much more important post-flop than they are pre-flop. Or that's there, for example. We had like king with an ace blocker, and when all the money goes in pre, they still have the aces, like a very high amount of the time. So There's just a stack depth there that made me want to get it in. And as you saw, once we did get it in, even though we were dominated, we still had 44% equity because this game is nuts. King 10, 10, 7, 4 deuce is an absolutely garbage hand. We can already safely tag this guy as whale due to stack depth and currently VPPing 60%. King 10, 8, 8, 5 deuce, again a completely garbage hand. So I currently have a green tag on this guy, which is my tag for fish but not whale. We'll see if these stats build up to support the green tag or if he is actually a blue tag. He's got it in drawing absolutely stone dead there, overplaying his hand, so maybe he might turn into be a blue tag. Here we have ace, king, queen, 9, 8, 5, so we have a dirty suit with the king, queen, the 9 and the 5, the flush draw is useless, and then it's been a 3-bet pot anyway, so easy fold. Again, absolute garbage hand, easy fold. I think the thing I've noticed with PLO6 is that players are just naturally VPipping like 40, 50, 60%. And I've actually watched as much content as I can find on it now, and your VPip at 6 max tables probably wants to fall somewhere between 25 and 28% because I'm pretty nitty. And also I think because I'm playing in games where you just don't get to raise first in very often because shit like this happens. And I don't really know what a reasonable overlimping range looks like. My stats actually come in at around 23%, and then there's quite a big gap between my VPIP and PFR2. I'm far from polished at any aspect of the game, but there's two things going for this game. A, it's an awful lot of fun, and B, there are some absolutely monumental whoppers playing. So even when you lose, it's entertaining. I'm going to give this guy here a provisional blue tag too. Currently played 83% of hands before this hand was dealt. So you might see my VP struggle to get much over 20 here, just because, you know, I might get dealt like middle to bottom of the deck, and also we just won't get chance to raise first in hands that typically want to raise first in, because I don't know, like, right, okay, now someone's limped, do we still just apply raise first in ranges and ignore the fact they've limped, or do we tighten up a little bit because there's somebody in the pot? Ace, queen, jack, 9, 6, 3. This might be a little bit too loose for middle position, but we are at a table of particularly bad players, so we can probably get away with it. I think at a table with more like regulars who are more prone to 3-bet, then maybe you just don't get away with opening that hand. King, queen, jack, 9, 6, 5. These are more spots I struggle with. This hand looks like it's okay, but it probably isn't. You know, it's not ace high. We have no nut suits. But then I look at like how bad the players are, and like, well, can we get away with it? Can we get away with defending a little bit wider and then just being able to outplay them post flop? But equities run so close. So they run so close, and then you're out of position. So you, even versus Wales, you just typically under realize. So I typically do not go out of my way to, even though he's opened like a really bad hand there, I don't go out of my way to defend my blinds out of position multi-way. Single suited aces, but nice side cards apart from the 5. We'll try and isolate the button limper here, but probably fail. We have actually achieved isolation, maybe. Not the greatest of flops, but we're going to kick off with just a small c-bet. King, Jack, 10, 9, 9. Again, this hand looks pretty, but it will actually won't be performing that well. And out of position multi-way can be a fold. We get raised here. I'm not saying I want it to be raised, but I don't mind being raised. When we get called, we get them to cap themselves, and we get to semi-bluff quite aggressively on turns. In this instance, I think we just have a pretty easy fold. I am toying with the small bet. It's something I haven't learned from anyone. It's something that I'm just toying with. It could be utterly horrific. It's kind of an extension of what I do at No Limit, where I just use quite a lot of small bets, try and get my opponents to cap themselves on the early streets, and then we get to play rivers with quite a lot of information about the strength of our opponent's range. But it could be a horrible, horrible PLO6 card strategy. We tried to isolate this whale here and completely failed because the big blind came along. Garbage hand here, triple suited, but the 9-5-4-4 is just pure garbage. No real draws here, no real made hand strength, only backdoors, checking back. And this game is like incredibly equity driven. If you don't flop particularly well, especially multi-way, you kind of just handcuffed into just giving up a little bit. Here we have turned something of a straight draw. We do have the king high flush blocker, so here we're going to try and bet small, and then if we just get called, probably just pot any river whatsoever. This guy's check raised our small bet for the second time. Could just be that he's got good hands both times, or it could be he's responding to the bet size. Until we get to a showdown with him, we won't know. But my hand was worthless there anyway, so it felt like it was worth stabbing with. If only just to get him to call turn and fold river. Ace 10, queen. Again, the 6-3 deuce is really weak. Obviously a complete garbage hand. You can see now we've played like 26 hands already, and we struggling to get our BP. Although 26 hands is really insignificant. Stuff like this happens all the time, and I'm just not sure how to play against limps other than just wait for like, pretty high ranking combinations pre-flop and start from there. So we have double suited kings here, but the ace-high suit is dirty. Probably just a fold with the dirty suit, and then the like 7-7-3, which is terrible side cards. When you've got the kings of the world, you really want to be having side cards that add a lot of playability to your hand. Double suited there I would have opened, but double suited with the nut suit being dirty because I have 3 of them felt to me like a fold. Could be wrong, genuinely don't know. Would open it from later position, but not from under the gun. think in all my time playing this game, I've called pot-sized rivers and probably got a win hand frequency of sub 10%. At the low stakes, people just do not seem to have any bluffs whatsoever on the river. Here, this hand is complete shite. But if he does raise, because he's so bad, I'm going to take a flop. We flop a good shot on some backdoors. He checks, and given his check raise frequency so far, I'm actually just going to take a free turn. Over here, Jack 10, 8, 8, 5 deuce is absolutely useless. Our man bets 1/3 pot on the turn. We just have literally nothing, so we fold. Again, this hand isn't very good, but blind versus blind, I'm going to open it. Could be a mistake. It really isn't going to fare very well versus 3 bets, and it's not going to flop especially well a lot of the time. Here we actually haven't flopped too badly with a gut shot. Here we're just going to complete. Not going to see bet without the nut hat. Here we have top and bottom pair, which is useless. But it's a small bet, so we're going to see what develops on the turn. Pick up an absolutely useless, or probably useless flush draw. We just check down and win there with a very marginal, mediocre hand. Facing a second barrel here. Ever someone so far has looked to be as tight as me, we're just going to fold. Again, we have a pretty bad hand here. But this player is truly terrible, and I want to play pots with him, so I'm going to call. We flop a third nut flush draw and an open ender. Betting here and getting raised would feel like it's a disaster. With so much equity and versus someone who seems really aggressive, I'm going to call this turn. We can boat up now on the river, and we can make straights. We have failed to do so. Do I want to try and bluff this guy? I think probably. Might not work out too well for us, but you know, our hand barely has showdown value, 7s and 5s. We might make him fold 2 pairs with the straight, possible straight being out there. We can definitely make him fold better here. Even a bad player can make them fold better. And I suspect we did get him to fold a better hand there, given how long he tanked for. This right hand table is a really bad one. Just 4. And this player's the fish at the table. but I played with him a lot, and he just is really weak type. Well, not weak type, but he's really weak. He just always has it when he's betting. We look at his postal progression stats, and they will bear out over a bigger sample. Double suited aces here with truly tragic side cards. If there was more aggressive players behind, I would maybe over limp this with a view to limp raising, but there isn't. So we go just with the attempt to ISO, and like often happens, or nearly always happens, the ISO attempt is a complete failure. We like this though, because hopefully now we can knock these two out and then just run our double suited aces versus a whale. Nope. We do not achieve isolation still. We now flop a nut flush draw and a top pair. We are, of course, in a world of hurt against a lot of hands. But, I mean, what are we going to do at this point? We just put the money in and cross our fingers. And we are a 61% favourite. And we win. Beautiful. And there you go. This hand is really fucking bad because of all the diamonds, but we are going to limp this hand to try and play a pot with this guy. Over here we have single suited kings with a queen and a jack. We flop an open ender. Here we're just going to try and see a flop. We flop a pretty strong straight draw with top pair. Here this guy just never bluffs, but we've got a pretty good draw. Turning the nuts on the left hand side table. And I think at this point we're just going to pot it. Although there are so few draws, maybe we go for this to try and induce. Over here we turn the nuts on the right hand side table, and we're just going to again mash the pot button. He didn't take the bait there. So just to show how good these games are, the PLO6 in general, if we go back a couple of hands. I mean, we had a guy who limp and min raised that hand and called a 4-bet. I mean, genuinely, what are we doing here? The over limping. Like playing in these games in terms of like how bad the fish are and like how bad, frankly, the regs are too. It is like taking it. It's like as soft, in my opinion, as we're going to fold that jack eye flush here. As soft, if not softer, than No Limit Hold'em was, what, 20 years ago. If you are a No Limit Hold'em player and you're bored of it and you want to learn something new, I would say this is a good game to start to learn. There are arguments that the rake is unbeatable. I disagree with that due to how soft the games are. So jacks away here. Because how soft the games are, I just cannot believe that the games are unbeatable. I think if you're playing in games with lots of tight players, if you're not game selecting well, then maybe the rig is unbeatable. But I think in the games I play, both on PokerStars and in the club, there's no way the rate can be unbeatable because some of the players are just so utterly horrendous. And why is my HUD gone all tits up here? It's fixed itself again now. Now I really think like this game is still very much in its infancy, and I firmly believe it's going to grow and grow. I mean, in the app world, not just in the club I mean, but in the app world, um, like it's taking over. PLO6 is a more popular game, up, at micro stakes all the way up to high stakes. It's just a far more popular game than No Limit Hold'em. There's just literally, even at a stake as low as like 25, 50, there's hundreds and hundreds of pounds every night just floating around in the hands of terrible players, and it's there to be won. As you can see at these tables, not this one in particular, but the games are just good. They're just really good, and I think it's as good a time as any to start a fresh poker journey. And I'm fucking, how old am I now? 51, nearly 52. If I was starting out fresh in poker, or if I was advising someone starting out fresh in poker, I would, No Limit Hold'em would be their fucking last game I would encourage them to start out with. I would definitely say PLO, be it 4, 5, or 6, is. I'm not going to say any of these games are going to overtake No Limit Hold'em on mainstream sites because they're probably not. But in terms of like where you can have the most fun and crash through the limits, it's got to be this. And I just checked back Queen 7 because which was a full house. I was too busy talking. Again here, Queen Jack 10 9 9. It kind of feels like it's a hand you want to play, but we've got 3 of them. We've got no really good high card potential. I think it's a trap hand. As I said, I think this table's really. I mean, I'm Dougal. I've never seen him in my life before. He could be terrible. Run through over 23 hands. Looks like he's shaping up to be some kind of regular. So this table ain't that great. But we are recording this during the daytime. In the evenings, there's normally a lot more tables running, and although you can't directly table select on PokerStars, you can join 2 tables, and if one of them is shite, you can just join another one and then kick the table out that's shite. But even like relatively bad games are still quite good in terms of you're not being put in like mind-bendingly tough spots by good regs. Again, this hand has such limited nut potential, but this player is just so bad. We just want to try and take flops with him whenever we can. Again here, another trap looking hand. Like Queen Jack 10 9, double suited, looks nice, but high cards are dominated, straight draws are going to be dominated, flush draws are going to be dominated. Just not a good hand. Turning the nuts on the right hand side table. Probably not going to get very much money given the speed both players are checking at. If we do get check raised here, we're not going to just pile all the money in because it's very likely we're going to be chopping or maybe even being free rolled. Now, we've called in 2 spots. We still have the nuts. And there are some worse straights that can call. So we will spot it and let them decide what hands worse than King Jack they want to call with. And it might be that there's 0 hands they want to call with. But you'll notice at the minute I've only got small bets and big bets on my. I think I'm just playing with two sizes. Sadly, we lose the wheel, and that's because I find myself that if I start trying to have too many different sizes, I end up just confusing myself. So I just have a two-size strategy, and I don't know. I mean, pots obviously are a very commonly used size in these games. I don't know if the small bet of 35 is too small. Maybe it is. It could be fucking horrendous. You almost never see anyone using it. So it could be awful. But I'm still very much just trying to devise my own strategy. Here we get led into by a very passive player. We currently have the nuts, and we have redraw two nuts with like lots of other cards. So we're just going to raise it because we know we might be chopping now. But we can improve like we have here. So we still have the nuts. We're going to pot again. As long as we don't see a card over a 10, we're going to still have the nuts on the river. Sadly, the way this guy plays, this is just going to be a chop. We will be free rolling to a king, but he might be free rolling to an ace or a queen as well. Yeah, we look here with slight underdog. Chop it up. Here, king, queen, jack, 9, 7. Don't love opening it. This might not be strong enough to open under the gun. We're supposed to be opening like 17% of hands under the gun. This hand might not be strong enough because it just doesn't do well when we get 3-bet. This could just be a flat out mistake. And now I've literally no clue what to do. We've got a rubbish flush draw. We've got a rubbish made hand. But it's king 3-3. So, unless someone's got a random 3 dangler, we might have the best hand. We turn a flush. And I think still just checking. Don't need to bluff anymore. And probably too thin for value. Here's queen, 9, 8, 6, 6. Going to try and isolate Dougal here. Don't think this is a particularly good hand, but we want to try and isolate the weaker players. Here we face half pot on the turn, and we could be absolutely dead. This guy's super passive. 17% flop aggression frequency, 18% turn. I'm just going to fold our hand here. Up here with the nut flush draw, we're going to start out with a small bet versus Dougal. Two decisions here. We can check back to realise our equity, or we can continue bluffing, maybe even get called by worse. Getting raised here will be a big problem, but we want to try and maximise our fold equity. And we can definitely tag Dougal in the whale category at this point. At this point, we can probably tag Run Through as a reg. Here we have double suited kings with a jack. So the ace, king, jack, double suit is nice. The 4s on the end significantly devalue the hand, but it's almost certainly going to be an open, especially with Dougal in the big blind. And it feels like a really bad flop. versus this like really small size. I believe we're drawing close to fucking dead, but it's so small, and who knows, we might just rip a king or a four off and have the best hand. I wasn't looking to make a flush here. I don't mind that I have, because now we can win on like check check. But I think check check isn't going to happen too often. He just pots the turn and we are out of there. I mean, I tag them as a reg because they're tight. My orange tag just means tight. I refuse to like respect any of these regulars for being any good at the game, much like myself. But they get the orange tag just because they're tight. What the hell happened there? That's just shitty stack. So I don't really care what happened. This is a pretty nice hand apart from the three. Ace, King, Queen, Jack, 9. We could definitely consider repotting this. I think in position on the button. I'm happy to flat and then just make use of our position post flop. Again, here we face a small bet and really don't love it. We can't fold just yet, of course, but I've no idea what I want to see on the turn other than a check from this player. Now double barrels for a larger size. I'm not giving credit for having bluffs here, especially on such dry board texture, so it's going to be super disciplined. To be fair, right now, this is really a terrible advertisement of this game because of just like both tables. I mean, there's only Dougal really. If I wasn't recording this now and what have you, I would be like, let's try and find some of the tables, etc. Because I wouldn't. These tables maybe are where like, the rake's pretty high, but the rake isn't that high because everyone's so fucking tight. You just barely play big pots. So I don't know. Actually, closing this table because we found a better one. Straight away, we just straight into two blue tags, although one of them is sitting out and may well have no money, but it's still an upgrade on the previous table. Now 3 tables running, maybe 4. There's 20 players in the lobby. There might even be 4 tables running. So all I did was went to the lobby, clicked join, and then it just immediately took me to this table, which, like I say, it's an upgrade on the previous one. You don't have that luxury in our planned, but you do have the luxury of playing poker with many players who VPIP in excess of 60%. So you don't need to table select when every table's good. That's the beauty of private games. You just don't find bad tables at 6-card PLO. They don't exist. There's no such thing as a bad table at 6-card PLO in that band. Can you? Why doesn't it tell you how much fucking money this guy's got in front of him if he ever comes back? Our hand here, virtually worthless. Flush draw, virtually worthless. Middle pair, virtually worthless. Churning a set. I'm just now going to pot it and then pot again if the board doesn't change significantly on the river. I'm going to isolate if this player limps. We're going to open this hand if it falls to us. Very pretty on this one. Triple suited, not loads of gaps between all of my cards. Don't love being 3-bet by someone who so far seems to be incredibly nitty. But we're going to see a flop and see what develops. We haven't got any aces in our hands. I mean, that's just a diabolical flop. The good thing about this flop is we don't lose any more money. King 10, 10. So game, we have a triple suited hand. So just going to open on the button. Queen Jack 10, 9. Again, very poor hand. If one of these guys raises, we're just going to fold it. Even though this guy's coming, this is such a weak hand. Six cards, and 5 of them are a 5 or lower. Doesn't get much worse than that. Oh, we're getting a table merge. Don't know anything about this guy. Know an awful lot about this guy. And my hood's fucked itself again, but then come back. Ace 10. Again, this is just such a garbage hand. Don't want to isolate it. Again, this hand deceptive. Looks better than it is. 6 and a 5 really hurt us. The fact we've got a dirty suit really hurts us. And given that this guy has got an 8% PFR, our hand is just in a world of trouble. Would we have flop trips here though? Of course we would. We'd have turned the nut full house. But that's not to say that our fold was bad pre-flop. Now I've probably got over 1,000 hands on this guy, and his PFR seriously does not get above 10. It's King Jack 9, 7, 3. I think from the cut-off, I would consider opening this. But for middle position, just going to fold it. Maybe given these players are so tight behind, we could maybe open a little wider. Does my HUD keep fucking up? Is it because a new player joined? I don't fucking know. This table appears to have got better. Alan Bate has joined and Dr. Kojak has joined and immediately limped under the gun. Two good signs. Is that Attilio Lombardo there? Palace fan? Dr. Kojak, who loves your baby? Probably won't get that reference unless you're my age. Or you're a big Telly Savalas fan. One of the two. In very deceptive hand here. Looks good. It's got plenty of reasonable connectivity, but the five diamonds and no nut suit really hurts it. Here we have flopped something, bit of something. Not enough to bet with, of course, but we've got potential. Not like a gut shot straight draw to the nuts. Backdoor Broadway. And then a really passive player pots it, so we're out. Oh, and then he gets raised, so we're definitely out. This should be sets with all kinds of other stuff. Wow, he just pot folded. That's a rarity. But this fucking HUD bouncing around is doing my nutting. Double suited aces here. The rubbish side cards. We're just going to limp. And then when it gets back to us, we decide whether we want to repot. We can make it 23 bigs. No, our side card's nowhere near good enough. Of an open-ender with just a backdoor flush draw. Pretty weak draw because the 10 doesn't give us a nut straight. Facing better call, our hands was garbage. Excuse me. "49 minutes. I'll go back and listen to that one. I always amusing myself listening to my own farts back because I'm a 51-year-old child. It's Queen Jack 9 6 4. Nope. Interesting. This is something I've dabbled with, these smaller open sizes. I think I quite like them, to be honest. Queen 9875 with two potential fish in the pot. This might be a terrible defend, but all our cards are connected. So we're going to try and take a flop. We flop the second nut flush and fuck knows what to do. Guy's gone with a small c-bet. We obviously can't fold yet. But it's not an especially fun feeling spot. I expect him to size up here, or he's just going half pot again. I mean, I feel like I'm getting milked. Is he really bluffing here? We're just going to fold the second nuts. I think I'm probably going to fold the river. Call one more time. And I think we just have to fold the river. He could just be bluffing with the naked ace of diamonds, of course. Surely he polarizes river and goes pot or check. He hasn't bet a river yet, but he's only had one opportunity. I'm just going to fold because just paying off rivers in this game never seems to work out well. King, King, Jack, 10, 9, 8. Going to call. Double suited aces with 4 broadways, but the very dirty hearts. But we're going to squeeze this one up. Try and knock these 2 regulars out. What a thoroughly depressing flop. Our hand is virtually dead, you would imagine. I don't know if we should bluff this river. I mean, it looks like no one's got anything really strong. It's going to be a big piss me off when someone just wins with like a fucking something that isn't a strong hand, but I'm just not going to try and bluff 2 whales. I mean, what do we really rep after checking down? And we just win with jacks and sixes. Anyway, so how I was allowed to win that hand, I do not know. But we'll take it. Triple suited hand here, we're going to be opening it for certain. Double suited aces, we're going to open. Isolate with the triple suited hand. Big fan of this. Big fan of this. Because now we can just repot and almost certainly knock these 2 guys out. As we flop virtually nothing on the other table. Hopefully we just get to trap this dead money and have 66% equity, have 86% equity, have 100% equity. Nice. And even nicer is the reload. That's another thing I've found in PLO, is that the degens appear to have more money behind than no limit fish. Like quite often when you play no limit and the fish busts, they just leave. Far more often than at no limit, fish appear to reload in this game. And I think some of that is quite a dark reason. I think it's because they're degenerates and addicted. Um, it doesn't make you feel good if you stop to think about it too long. So I typically don't stop to think about it too long. Here we're just going to overlink the bottom because two whales are in. Even though this hand isn't very good whatsoever. And now we're just going to try and somehow make a nut straight. This guy just has to be so honest post flop when two whales call. This could be really, really, really bad by me. Could be really bad. Could just be a big punt of 5 big blinds. And we're just trying to make the nuts with two absolute whoppers in the pot that we have position on. Not going to ISO raise a single suit with aces here because it won't work. So interesting bluffing potential with the ace of spades. Is anyone likely to stab? So what I'd like to check raise this hand. So I think we get more fold equity if we go check raise and then pot the river. So that's what we're going to do. Get it through immediately. No reason to fire the second bullet, or no cause to. It's king, queen, 10, 10, 4, triple suited. It's going to be an open. Double suited aces with quite side cards are going to be an open too. And this board over here is truly, truly terrible. We have flopped trip 8 over here, which is nice. I'm going to go with a small c-bet on a dry flop. Over here, we just got a dead hand. Small bet takes it down. Mr. Hood's playing silly beggars again. Queen, Jack, 9, 6, 5, deuce, even against a whale. No. This guy limps a lot. Now he wants to all of a sudden pot it. We have a hand we want to defend. Double suited aces. We're going to try and ISO. Jackson 8. Is it Jackson 8? Whatever. I don't know. We're not super thrilled by it either way. It's going to pot c-bet this board into a passive player. Queens and 9s. We do block straights, but that doesn't necessarily mean very much in this game. But we're going to call 1. Here we're going to pot the turn. Did I just read my hand there? Maybe I did. Again, more double suited aces, but with very dirty suits. Limp, limp, min ISO. Jesus Christ, I've literally no clue what to do here. I could do that, but we're going to get, everyone's going to call, and our hand doesn't have a great deal of post-flop playability. So we're just going to call. flop ourselves top set on a very wet and dynamic board. And this is just a question of sizing. We're always going to bet our hand. Loads of draws we can get value from. Tend to go with pot. We get immediately check raised. So if this guy's got like a flush and a straight draw here, we are an underdog. Like now we just got to try and estimate what we think our equity looks like, and it could be like just 40% here. We don't block any other sets he could be doing this with. I think we just need to run it, but I'm not happy. And we are just a small favourite. And we lose. He had the set, but he had the redraw with the flush. And that you need a good mental game in this game because we just had like a 75-31 whale winner flip against us. And this you get in these spots all the time where you're just getting your money in. You know, if you get it in with 60 odd percent, you know, you can be quite pleased with yourself. Get it in with more, you should be ecstatic. And you just lose a lot of them. It's just how the game works. You just lose a lot of those hands. And if you can't handle that, if you're the sort of person who just fucking flies off the handle and starts tilting, then this game will eat you alive. And here we have another double suited aces hand. Two options here, call or report. I think being out of position, we can only make it 14 blinds. Our suit is a bit dirty. Still going to do it. Don't love the dirty suit, but our side cards are somewhat connected. But this is the problem, and this is I don't know if it's a mental game leak or whether we just shouldn't squeeze our hand there or three bet our hand there. Is it like so often you just flop nothing in this game, even though you got 6 cards? I mean, now we just have a dead hand. And I don't know if once this suit's dirty or the side cards aren't fantastic, and I don't know if this hand should even 3-bet, but it is double suited aces. And these are things I need to learn about. I mean, obviously we have the most trivial of folds now. But when you're not getting folds from these types of holdings, both of which are just really fucking bad, they shouldn't be in there pre-flop whatsoever. I mean, let's have a look at what they both call with there. This is just like complete trash, as is this. But if we're not getting folds from those types of holdings, that even though they're trash, they just have reasonable equity still, then like, is there a great deal of point to the 3-bet? If you just know you're going to get called in 2 spots, I mean, yeah, you get the SPR down for when you flop well, which is why I think we need to do it. But so often you're just going to flop really badly. I just concede an awful lot of pots in which you 3-bet. And that's a constant back and forth I'm having. And I still have no fucking idea. Genuinely have no clue whether that hand should squeeze or not. It feels like it shouldn't through my lived experience of what happens when you do squeeze in this game, i.e. nobody ever folds. But at the same time, it's double suited aces and we're getting called by really bad hands. So I don't know. Here Not a particularly strong hand, but it is triple suited, so we are going to open it. And we flop a gut shot, some backdoor stuff. Certainly going to start off with a small bet here, just to try and get our opponents to cap themselves, or just raise very strong hands. You get called, and the turn pairs does not improve our equity, probably significantly reduces our fold equity. Just going to give up. And still just giving up, I think. Could we do that? Well, that's me being a shitreg there. I think when we get them to cap themselves and they remain capped all the way to the river, I think not bluffing there is a mistake. But I routinely find myself in those spots where I'm thinking, I know they're capped and I know I should bluff, but then I have the second thought of, but what the fuck do I rep? You know, they should call us really wide, etc., etc. And then I just let win, and I just let like a real whale win with a pair of sevens. It's quite pathetic, really. Not him, me. Double suited, but these are ones I'm not too sure about either. Looks like you want to play it. It's got like nice rundown, but all these middle cards just perform so badly. It's just, all your draws are just so badly dominated. I definitely do not bluff enough rivers in this game. I set my strategy up to get people to cap themselves so I can bluff rivers. Then I bottle so many bluffs. Because I just look at stats and think you are so bad. Why do I want to try and bluff you? But then we know that fish routinely reach rivers with wide and weak ranges. So we should be like mega over bluffing. But it's one thing to know something away from the table, and then it's another thing to execute it in a heat of battle. And that's what separates really good players from shithouses like me. That's a shame. This table's probably going to break. Poker Stars does not like you continuing to play heads up, and it's just merged us. But merged us to what looks like a good table, so I'll absolutely take that. This guy might be en route to getting my rarely used pink tag, because he's not just whale like this guy, he looks like he's aggressive whale. This is quite rare, this tag. my hood continues to fucking jump around like a jumping bean on ecstasy. I'll have to pause my session in a minute because someone just messaged me they've got a minor task for me to complete. And rotate my hood to the right. It should be right again. King 987 deuce. This time the whale might not reload. But at least he had the decency to dump it on another whale. This hand is complete trash, but in position blind versus blind, I don't fold very often. When he instantly puts c-bets out of position, you have an easy fold. Really bad hand, but it's costing me half a blind. We flop an open ender. Start with a lead. It is slightly more than an open ender. I think is it a wrap? Do we call it? Pick up a call. Dreadful turn card. Just completely kills our equity. King, king, double suited with a queen and a jack and 2 muppets. Flatten the button. Flop. The second nut flush draw. And is there any point stabbing? What am I doing versus race here? Probably folding. We're just going to win the pot anyway. This guy's disconnected. Oh, he's back. Dual suited aces with, again, diabolical side cards. Do we want to flat here and let other people come in the pot? I think probably, because our side cards are just so fucking atrocious. Happy to let other people come in the pot and then hopefully cooler the shit out of somebody. I think now there's nothing to do but this. And then we'll be off to the races. So we don't love this. We could be in truly diabolical shape, but how do we fold? 19%, yeah. Really rough shape. I mean, this is PLO in a nutshell. This hand right here. Squeezes, then calls 50 something big blinds pre-flop. And then just flops enormous equity. That there is PLO in an absolute nutshell. You just can't fold the flop. You know you're probably fucked. But there you go. That is PLO. The dude squeezed and then called a back raise and then just flopped an absolutely enormous straight draw. I mean, fuck knows what this cunt's doing. But there you go. Genuinely, hand on heart, I think like 3-betting pre-flop in this game might be literally one of the most pointless things in the history of all of poker. Because you have zero fold equity and then you're just in post-flop bingo. I think in no limit, having a good 3-bet game and a good post-flop game is mandatory. I don't know about in this game because it's like you 3-bet. I mean, we put 56 blinds in pre there. We got 2 calls from hands that shouldn't have put 1 blind in pre. And then the flop comes down and your hand's got 21% equity and you can't fold it. And I just think like when you get into the whole pre-flop 3-bet game, you just set yourself up to just always play bingo, which is why a lot of people don't like this game because it does feel like bingo. But if you actually don't bother having 3-bet ranges pre, then the bingo element is significantly reduced and you just get to play post-flop versus some like truly horrendous poker players. So maybe 3-betting is just completely pointless as we flop a whopping great draw here. We're going to end the video on a high. That draw's so strong here, I'm happy just to pot and run it. Turn's not particularly useful. Now the question is, do we continue bluffing or just check back and realise? Do we think we have any fold equity? Not a lot, but we have so much pot equity, we don't really need that much fold equity. And we've got it in with 20% equity again. And this time we're the ones that suck out. There you go. The last few minutes of the video at PLO6 in an absolute nutshell. We're going to set out on our next big blinds and lick our wounds a little bit. And like the amount of times I've said to people I talked to PLO about lately, well, in the last month or so, I genuinely think 3-betting pre-flop is like, I just don't think it really worth much. I actually think it reduces skill, not increases it. Like in No Limit, it increases. You need a lot of skill to play an aggressive 3-bet game and then negotiate post flop. In this game, you don't need a lot of skill, because you get down to post flop SPRs. I mean, what was that one? It was like we had a post flop SPR with the big all in of like 0.3. So there is just no skill anymore. And like when I play in the app, I almost never 3-bet. Oh, literally almost never. In these games, I do. And my results are significantly worse in these games, albeit against slightly stronger fields, than they are in the games where I don't 3-bet. So maybe we just never 3-bet again, ever, in the rest of our lives. Who knows? Anyway, this is going to be our next to last hand. I'll click on back. Oh no, I won't. No. Stop it, Reg. Stop it, Reg. Stop it, Reg. Oh, I don't stop this shit happening. I just didn't want that table to spoil the video at the end by disappearing. With really, really bad aces here, we're just going to call. This is much more my comfort zone. In position, very pretty large SPRs, and we just get to play some poker rather than bingo. Didn't get raised on the flop, so sets weren't out there. We're going to triple here, unless we get raised, of course. So my belief is there's no sets out there on the flop. So the best someone could have improved to here is like trip fives, or maybe I have like jack 5, 6, 5. But we just set the pot down, and that feels. I enjoy that far more than playing 3-way all in 300 big blind pots and then having 20% equity. Well, that's it. It's the end of the video. It will make YouTube because there was some action. If you have reached this far in, and if you have, then fucking hell, you are a legend. And you do want to play some 6-card PLO in some private clubs, email address beneath the video if you want to contact me via email, or if you have Telegram, add the Telegram address to your address book and message there and say Reggie Times sent you. Thanks very much for watching. Take care and bye-bye for now.